Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. We start with the New England Patriots. Look, Sunday's game, we only play in 17 games. They're all must wins. This game against the Chargers was a must win. If you go in 3-5 and you lose the tiebreakers and all the stuff, your season's over. They go into LA. They beat the Chargers in a very impressive victory despite the poor coaching, and they win. And all of a sudden, guys, we're in a playoff race.
You know, I can't figure out who is this team. Is this the team that lost to Tampa Bay by 2 feet of a field goal? Is it the team that got absolutely humiliated several times?
No, they got humiliated once by the Saints.
But Scotty, we have seen what they've done. You know, the eyes don't lie. We've seen how horrendous this team has been at times, and on top of the performance, the coaching has been horrendous too.
Timmy, they're
gonna have to prove it to me a couple more games before I buy into this.
Joe, this team should be 7-1 if Harris doesn't fumble the ball against Miami, if that field goal comes through, and if Aguilar catches that ball and scores a touchdown. They're 7-1, and no, we're talking about, boys. We're talking about Mac Jones is the MVP of the league.
Could have, would have, should have. Even the Jets would be going to the Super Bowl. You know.
No, that's not true.
You just the team is getting better every week. That's the important thing.
Scotty,
they started out really just terrible, like Tim says, but they've improved steadily every week. Last week's defensive performance really had to impress.
Absolutely.
They look like the team we expected them to look like all year last week. But are you going to sit here and tell me what your eyes have shown you, what you've seen this year? I know what I've seen, and I've seen some horrendous football on the games like I've never seen in my life before the Patriots.
No, that's not true. We've had no.
We won a bad game.
Timmy, we've had some.
That was okay. I guess I'm permanently scarred from that game, possibly. You know, that could be that was a mortal wound, that game. I'm still recovering from that game.
We have some really porous defenses.
Oh, yeah.
Years.
Yeah, we've seen them come out. I mean, the year they won the Super Bowl, there were some horrendous games that year by that team.
But no, this defense looks like it's a couple injuries away from being bad, too. They're very thin.
Well, Joe, who is it? What NFL team's not a couple injuries away?
I agree, but they're already, when they made the decision to get rid of Gilmore, and then what's his name? Just started Jones.
Jones gets hurt, but that's
So now you've lost two starters there, so they're already on breathing fumes here. But I gotta tell you that kid from the practice squad that they got earlier in the Bryant's, he's been pretty good.
Oh my God! If you remember when they cut him, I was so angry because I
remember that.
I thought he played really well last year. They lucked out not having him picked up by another team. Thankfully, they were able to put him on the practice squad. Now he's not going to sniff the practice squad anymore. He'll be out the door.
No. He's the next Malcolm Butler.
You know what I was impressed about this week, this is the team. They performed like what we thought they were going to do all year. A good run game, a stout defense, and Mac Jones playing like a rookie. And that's kind of how he played. He probably had his weakest game of the year, and they beat a very good Chargers team. Maybe it's more indicative of the NFL this year. I mean, week to week now, you don't know who's going to win.
Well, first of all,
our team though 3-0 on the road. Not many teams can say that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. And Mac Jones, yes, when Mac Jones only has 50% completions, and we're saying he has had a poor game, we already have a high ceiling for Mac Jones.
I mean, he's been, him and the linebacker there have been the two really, Judon, really the two solid guys they've had all year.
Judon's a revelation. Joe, in the 60 plus years of watching the Patriots, who can you compare Judon to, and how he can disrupt a game in every level that a linebacker can play?
I have to go back to Andre Tippett.
Tippett could Tippett defend the pass?
Well, it was a different game then. Linebackers didn't drop in the zone as often as they do now. They almost never picked up people in man.
Right.
You know, you didn't have to go wide. You know.
Yeah.
But you never went into that empty set type stuff back then. It never happened.
Well, look, Judon had 1.5 sacks, boys, and 9 pressures. Basically, he was in the backfield all game, and we know what when you have a young quarterback like Justin Herbert, that affected him. There's no question.
Those red sleeves, you still see him in his sleep. You know that. I think that's an effective little psychological tool too.
Well, you have to hand it to Belichick. The 2 signings of defensive players, big signings in the last 5 years, Gilmore and Judon have worked out remarkably.
And you know who else has worked out? Phillips has worked out pretty good too.
Phillips,
defensive player of the week.
Yeah, they need to sew him up, or I'm sure the Chargers will try to take him back. But
you know, Williams didn't play. Williams didn't play bad either.
Great point. I've loved Williams from when they drafted him. With the size he has, he made a nice special teams tackle, and I thought he played pretty well, right, Joe?
He was bringing the wood. That's for sure.
Joe Juan?
Yeah.
Joe Juan.
Yeah.
I thought he had a good game.
How many plays did he get in on defense? Maybe 10%. They don't play him much.
Hopefully
he made a few good plays, though. He made a few good tackles.
Yeah, you'll see him on special teams more. But they played well, and I thought Barmore had his best game as a Patriot. He was constantly pushing. He was pushing Herbert right into Judon all the time. Push up the middle, right into Judon's waiting arms.
Yeah, absolutely. Barmore played fantastic. He was a great draft pick. Belichick lucked out that both of these guys just dropped into his hands.
Well, hopefully he gets a little bigger because they can't play him on the first 2 downs because, usually the first 2 downs because he's too small. They have to get in the weight room, get a little bigger, maybe play, professionally at the tackle position. Otherwise, he becomes just a pass rush specialist,
And the Patriots, when they fumble, you got to hand it to the Patriots. When they fumble, it's a big fumble. It always seems like they're driving to the close to the goal line, and then they fumble. That's got to stop. 6 fumbles in 8 games will not do it.
The receivers have been taking turns being terrible. Last week it was Kendrick Bourne dropping the ball in the end zone, and then fumbling. Week before, say it was Aguilar. The week before, John Smith had a terrible game. Each week, one of the receivers is just disgraceful.
Look, I think Hunter Henry, I know, Joe, you've been tough on him, but I think Hunter Henry, Timmy, I think he's done a nice job. I think him and Mac Jones seem to have a nice connection going.
Well, he had to make a connection with somebody. He's got it with the wide receiver there. Myers. I mean, and so this seems to be coming along with Henry too now. I mean, we had to get something out of those tight ends. It seems like one's a B and the other one's a D. Right. Now.
But I feel like Jonnu Smith in the second half, you're going to see a lot more of him if he stays healthy, of course. And I think they're going to continue to design plays like they did in the Jets game for Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot more of the jet sweep type things. The stuff, he's an H-back. He's all small than Hunter. Hunter's a big inline tight end. Blocks and goes out for passes. John was more, a gadget guy.
The guy who's ending up a big bust because he's never on the field is Trent Brown. I mean, a calf injury, we thought it was week to week. A couple of weeks ago, he was working out before the game and people thought he was going to play. And now all of a sudden, where is he?
Yeah, it's hard to say. He just cashed the check and disappeared on them. I don't know what the story is there. They're pretty tight-lipped out there in Gillette, but it doesn't look like we're going to see him anytime soon.
Yeah.
And they, you know, they've been playing all right. So,
Right. So the line play you're happy with?
well, it looks good against. It looks good against smaller teams like the Chargers. You know, they look much better against the small teams. But I think they're going to need him when you start going up against the iron. So
Yeah.
he's going to have to come back at some point.
And Timmy, Josh McDaniels, our phones blew up on our thread with that 3rd and 4th down calls when it was pretty clear they could run at will against the Chargers. And he decides to throw in 3rd down, and in the 4th down, I don't even know what that play is to this.
He was doing. He was
yesterday.
Yeah, he did, right?
He was doing his Pete Carroll imitation, right?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I've been scratching my head all year with some of the calls. Those goal line calls where he had Bolden going wide a couple of times, and you're driving the ball. You got a stable of good running backs back there, big heavy running backs.
We've got
Stevenson
2
and
stud tight ends who we thought were going to be killers in the red zone.
Yeah.
he's throwing, and those they weren't even close to being successful plays. If
Why
that's the
would
best you,
play is terrible.
that's the best you have in your bag of tricks. I mean, you save some plays just for those moments, and he seems
you're
to have
gonna do
nothing in the bag to pull out.
If you're going to do a fade, it's going to be to Janu Smith or actually N'Keal Harry. I mean, you got to do it to all guys who can fight, not Aguilar. That was the worst play, I think, in the history of the NFL.
It was over before it started, Scotty.
Yeah. And Mac Jones didn't even seem like he was into it.
No, I mean, he kind of threw it away.
How about the one he threw it poor Hunter Henry the back of his ankle there?
Yeah, right. But that was where there was going to be the holding call, right? Or was that where the holding call was?
Oh no, that was when he had the yips. He calmed down after that.
My question,
Now, you know what I did miss was the Belichick challenge. I was hoping somebody could explain that to me.
now I
was
get
holding
it.
in the end zone. Van Noy was being held in the end zone, but the refs pulled a cutie and said, "Well, that's not the holding we meant, so it doesn't count as a safety." There was definitely holding in the end zone. Go back and look at it. The guy tackles Van Noy to keep him off her.
I did not. I thought you could only challenge a pass interference or a play that was called. I didn't know that you could challenge a play that wasn't called.
No, he was challenging whether it should be a safety or not.
This is a scoring.
Not whether it should be called.
Yeah.
So the scoring play, because it would have been a safety and it would have been a scoring play, he could challenge it.
Yeah, he could challenge it. Yeah,
Okay.
those referees were, as usual, corrupt. Every time there
That
was
was a safety. It was a safety. No ifs, ands, or buts. But
every time there was going to be a call that would favor the Patriots, then they would convene, and the head referee would try to talk the guy out of it, and the guy had to make some kind of thesis presentation to convince him to call the penalty.
well, they did have to. They did overcharge his one on that phony roughing the passer.
I know, but they made up for it when the guy they blew the whistle, and the guy had his way with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
So
It's, horrible refereeing in all the leagues, it seems like.
oh, there's no question. Refereeing's a joke.
They're going to be replaced by computers pretty soon.
We got to go to look. The most valuable player on the team, the guy who's played the best, is Nick Folk. And he was actually the most valuable player last year, too.
Well, they do. I'll tell you, the Patriots have a knack for picking good kickers. I got to give them credit for that.
Well, you drove Gostkowski out the door, Timmy.
Well,
so,
how's he doing these days, by the way? He's laying on this couch. I never saw anyone fall apart quicker than that guy did. He went from a sure bet to like, oh my God,
close it every time.
Close your eyes.
He was in the crowd. A few weeks ago, he was at Gillette watching the Patriots.
He was money for. He was money for years, and then he started missing extra points, and then he started missing, sure field goals. I mean, he went down the drain pretty quick.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
It had to be some type of injury that he sustained or something.
Yeah, it was a hip. It was a hip injury. Yeah.
You're right.
Vinatieri is going to walk into the Hall of Fame the day he's eligible.
Vinatieri.
Vinatieri will. Yeah.
Yeah, not Gostkowski. Vinatieri will be the only field goal kicker, right?
Oh no, there's a couple in already.
Is Ray Guy, is he in there as a punter?
He's a punter.
Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah.
I forget, is he your premier?
Jan Stenerud? Did Jan Stenerud ever make it?
Jan Stenner. How about that filthy the guy from Oakland there? They used to say his
George
body
Blanchard?
odor. No, the other guy with the crazy long European name there.
Oh,
They say
no,
not your premium. The guy from Oakland.
Oh, Yankowski.
They said they said he was the smelliest, filthiest human being on the planet. Like the guy never bathed, never used deodorant, anything. He just, just a walking, stinking mess, you know?
That sounds so appealing. All right, boys, we got to go predictions here. We play the Carolina Panthers. They're 4-4 too. They got Sam Darnold as quarterback, who I like a lot still.
What's the spread?
Yeah, I don't think is he going to play? He was in concussion protocol.
Oh, okay. So who's their backup?
I forget who they put in there. They picked up a couple of guys this week.
So, all right, Joe, tell us what's going to happen. Give us
I think again, I like unders with the Patriots for every game. I'm going to say 21-17.
All right, Patriots. All right, Timmy.
I'll say if they're picking a guy off the street to be their quarterback this week, that Belichick will toy with the guy, and there'll be 3 or 4 interceptions. Let's go 28-14 Patriots.
All right.
What's the spread? Anyone know?
I don't know. The professor has 24-17. We want to put that in the books. I got the Patriots. This is going to be their coming out party, boys. I think it's going to be 31-10 Patriots. And the chosen one is just going to have the game of his short life.
How quickly you forget your love, Scotty.
Again,
I mean,
you guys
what's that song? What's that song by that guy? You're just somebody that I used to know. You're just somebody. You took all your records back, and you came and changed your phone number and everything. You know what I mean? Jimmy G is like sulking somewhere right now.
So dance with the girl that brung you. Come on. No. Go to the
Mac Jones just has to get some beard growth going.
Getting these guys at a good time. Donald gets a concussion, and we got the Titans in a couple of weeks, and Henry's out for the rest, until the end of the year with the foot.
Well, you guys didn't even react to what I said. We are 3 plays away from the Patriots being 7-1. The 3 plays has nothing to do with the chosen one bit. Okay, he didn't do anything wrong. And if they're 7-1, everybody's talking about Mac Jones as the MVP. Would you agree?
Well, Scotty, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, they gave him a lot of short, safe passes to start out, which rightfully so. I'm not taking anything away from him. But are you going to tell me what your eyes have seen? I know what I've watched. They really haven't.
70% completions.
Well, Scotty, when you pass,
if Aguilar doesn't drop the ball in overtime against Green Bay, he could have scored on that play. Here's a win right there. Harris doesn't fumble. Here's another win. And the third play would be Nick Folk probably.
All right, but what is the average yards? What's the average yards per completion? Like 4 yards, 5 yards?
Timmy, he has and I'm being kind, would you agree he has, Joe and Timmy, average wide receiving core?
Yes, maybe below average.
Tim, he has cracked the top 10. He is in the top 10 in, the passing stats.
Yards per catch?
He's 9, 8, 9, and 10. But he's, up there in all the passing stats now, save, yardage and touchdowns. But
how about yards per catch?
He's about average on that. Remember, it's a check down league.
Look, he's got guys like Harry who, when they catch a ball, immediately fall to the ground.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
Yeah.
Mac Jones will win 3 MVPs before.
Oh, jeez, I think you were getting a little out of it.
No, what are you talking about, Joe? First of all, you told me that I was crazy about being the MVP, and then you just gave my argument for me.
Look, being in the top 10 isn't an argument for MVP. Being number 9 in the league or number 10 in the league isn't an argument for MVP.
You're
Kyler
seven.
Murray, Stafford, they're all doing way better than him.
Okay, MVP of the AFC.
Yeah.
That's what. Okay.
I'm trying to find Mac
That's
Jones
what I kind of meant.
yards per catch.
All right, I just want to talk Red Sox. I literally could talk Red Sox every show for one straight hour, just so you know.
What are the trades? First
of all, want to offer our condolences to the Remy family. Jerry Remy, who was a guest on this show 2 years ago, who could not have been a nicer gentleman to both myself and Todd and William when we went over to Fenway. Great guy, truly a legendary broadcaster and an excellent second baseman in some glory years for the Red Sox. He will be missed.
These guys.
He never even pointed out that awful pair of pants Scott was wearing.
No, he did.
These guys become part of your family. You're sitting in your living room with them for night after night after night. That guy had me peeing my pants laughing so many times when him and was it Don Orsillo, right? I mean, that pizza throwing episode, I remember that game and I was just like doubled over in laughter, and they would get that contagious laugh going, and you couldn't believe you were having so much fun watching a ball game.
That's giggling there beside Dio.
They couldn't even talk at points. They were just laughing so hard.
Yeah, Remy was a true New Englander. He had it from being a curmudgeon in the top to absolutely having our kind of cynical humor. Great guy. Battled lung cancer like no other. Yeah, I mean, you got to give it to him too. But that's another. We talked about this before, Joe. These professional athletes, you got to bring a lot to take them down. Those guys are physical specimens.
Oh yeah. They're kind of above everybody else in the world. That's why they're where they are.
Absolutely, they can make a lifetime career playing a game. At top of the line. So good guy. We offer our tip of the cap to Jerry Remy and his family. All right. So, we're thinking JD Martinez. We don't want him to opt in. Boys, JD Martinez is not going to opt in. He's clearly his agent has been talking to teams. We know that that's how that works. He's probably got a 3-year, $70 million deal on the table.
You know what? I could have told you. This guy is a professional hitter. He's the guy I want to see him come up to bat when the game's on the line. That's the guy for me.
Well, then you sign him to a contract and trade him to these teams.
Well, no, because he can. He has the opt in or opt out. He opts out. I truly believe that they're going to make a deal with him. I think they're going to give him a 3-year deal. Maybe it's at $60 million.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. And then they could trade him if they wanted to. If one of these teams really wanted him that bad, then like you say, with the National League maybe moving to the DH, he'd be ideal.
Right.
I think a guy. I think a quality hitter of his level, they just don't come down the pike every day. I think he's a very, very good hitter.
Well, it's a matter of what, look, the Red Sox have always overpaid DHs because we have, the Big Poppies, the Hanley Ramirez's of the world, and now, of course, JD Martinez. But most teams do not want to pay $20 million for a DH. And moving forward, he is just a DH. He's horrendous in the outfield.
That's okay. I loved him sixth in the lineup. I loved him. It made that lineup fearsome with him sixth in the lineup. There was no day off.
Like Scotty knows he's way better than me, but they do have a couple of guys they think are going to be elite hitters in Tristan Casas and York when they hit the major leagues. So who they won't be paying big money to, and that's more Chaim Bloom's.
Well, let's bring them up and let's see what they can do if they can hit at this level, and let's see before we give JD his matching papers. I like him in the lineup. It's not my money. I want him on the team. I want to see him in the lineup.
Well, it is your money. Your season ticket.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is your money.
But look, I have a feeling that Heimblum wants to get out of that contract. I think the idea of giving him $20 million to get to play with when he had $20 million for the whole payroll in Tampa, you give him $20 million to free up. I think he's going to be very, very happy. I think he lets JD walk.
That means JD will take another year off like he did last year.
Paying what we pay for those tickets, I want to see them spend money and put high quality guys. I do not want to see penny pinching, low budget. I don't want to see it. I want professional, good hitters in there for the money we're paying for those tickets.
Look, the Red Sox need to get more athletic. They didn't need to see anything but the Atlanta Braves, and congratulations, the Atlanta Braves, for winning the World Series. This is an 88-win team who is very athletic, who got hot at the right times, some clutch hitting, some tight pitching. It's not about the big offense right now. It's a copycat league. People are going to go, what did the Atlanta Braves do?
Well, they got hot at the right time is what they did. I mean, 88 wins. They are, in the weak National League. I mean, they got hot at the right time.
But they didn't have to play the wild card game, which was a benefit for them. But I'm telling you, we need to get more athletic. Hunter Renfroe, Carl Schwarber, JD Martinez. Stop me when you like me. Bobby Dahlbeck, Christian Vasquez. We are a softball.
Well, I would not put JD Martinez. I will athletically put them in that league, but I won't put them in that league as a professional hitter.
No, I know, but I'm talking about
Martinez in a different. You can't put JD Martinez in the same conversation as Dahlbeck. They're completely different guys.
Well, first of all,
okay. Let's have an athletic team, but have JD Martinez knocking those guys in. That's what I'll say.
Look, we saw some bad Red Sox teams, and some with the Mike Lowell's, post World Series that clogged up the bases, that literally could hardly get to the next base. And that's just not going to work over the course of a regular season, and sure, it doesn't work in the playoffs.
Well, you can say what you want. I like JD Martinez on this team.
No, I like JD Martinez too, but I'm saying it'll be very interesting if he does opt out, what Heimblum does with the money. Hopefully it doesn't go in John Henry's pocket.
I mean, JD Devers clogs up the base. He's no speed demon either. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
He's fast.
We need that for the Red Sox.
Faster than JD.
He's a little faster, but he's still no speed demon.
He doesn't look like you did.
Yeah, he's not burning up the base pass, that's for sure.
Okay, does Erod, is he bolting from this team, or did the Red Sox surprise us and actually sign him?
I could care less whether they sign this guy. You don't know what you're getting with this guy. He gave us a couple of good games in the playoffs, but since he's got here, he's been an enigma. I mean, I want the guy. You don't have to baby him. You don't have to coddle him. Just send him out there, do your job. You don't need a psychiatrist talking to this guy. I think there's got to be something better out there for that kind of money. I think there's got to be something better.
Where are you going to get that guy though nowadays?
I know. That's I know.
It's wrapped up early and often by these teams.
Those starting pitchers.
Yeah, I think they're going to try hard to sign him. I think that. And all right, so what?
We're gonna get more of the same. What says he's gonna be different?
Look, Timmy.
You're right, Tim. But you need 5 starters, 6 starters.
I know. I would like to see him replaced by somebody, as whatever, a little more.
Well, I mentioned Hulk is going to be a starter next year. Don't you think? That's one guy in there.
Yeah.
Timmy, and a grown argument, Timmy, that he pitched well in the playoffs means a lot to me. Don't you?
It does. I know it does. But do you sign a guy, based off of 2 games? I mean, those are big games. Don't get me wrong.
That's how this works.
I guess it is. All these guys make their paychecks in the playoffs, and a lot of us get sucked into that, and then you're scratching your head halfway through the year going, what were we thinking? Why?
Who's usually good in the regular season and is a disaster in the playoffs.
Our number 1 starter right now made his contract because of the playoffs in 18. Yeah. Would you agree?
But he also throws 100 miles an hour too.
Look,
he's not being vastly overpaid like Sale is. He's only getting half of what Sale's getting.
Yeah.
Look, I'm fearful that whoever pays Erod that he's going to figure this is his last contract and he's never going to.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's
and that,
core to keep him in line.
yeah,
I really, if I was another team, buyer beware.
yeah.
He might not pay, he might not do anything for him.
I mean, this is him fighting for a contract. Imagine him with a big fat wad of cash in his pocket. What he's going to turn into?
It feels like a guy who's going to go 11-28 in his new team
And laugh all the way to the bank.
Remember, the Orioles gave him to us because they couldn't take his craziness.
Who was that third baseman that was still paying there with the
Sandoval. We stopped paying him.
belly bigger than mine,
Sandoval will get a World Series.
He had one of those. He had one of those bellies that hung out. You ever see those guys? The belly hangs out underneath the t-shirt, even when it's fully extended, and they got that like 6 inches of fat laying down there. Collected what, 20 million a year, sitting around eating Doritos.
We don't want to name names, but the guy from sitting there with the season ticket, he had very similar body.
What do you call it? The underbelly.
Oh my God, that's tough to look at.
Our poor friends had to squeeze in next to him.
I know. All right, we go around the
we'll get off of that. We'll get off that subject.
Yeah. Catcher Vasquez. Do we pick up his option?
I think you have to.
Yeah.
What's he at? What's the option? How much, Joe?
$7 million.
I'd take him for $7 million. Yeah.
You pick him up. I think
steady.
They could end up signing him to a 3-year deal.
Unless you got some kid coming up in the ranks who's lighting the world on fire. You lock
him up. 6 catches and none of them are any good down the mine.
Yeah, so you lock him up.
So I think they lock him up for an additional. I think Vasquez isn't going anywhere.
He came up big. He came here talking about playoff money. He did pretty good.
Yeah, I think he stays. He says he wants to play for the Red Sox. He already made a contract to get himself some money in his pocket. I think probably 3 years at $9 million probably does it.
Corin just overused him this year. That's why he wasn't there. He was tired. He was way overused. I don't think there's been a Red Sox catcher that caught that many innings in 40 years.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. Knows the pitching staff. Loves Cora. No matter, people say they're not peddling him at all. Who's your first baseman next year? It's probably Bobby Dahlbeck.
Yeah.
Which Bobby Dahlbeck?
Maybe he's just going to be, platooned. We'll get someone else too.
Well, Scotty,
I think they're careful.
Scotty, you talk about guys we have in the minors. Who do we got coming up for that position?
Well, Tristan Case is there, but I don't think they're not going to give the keys to Tristan Cases. I just think that Heimblum is worried that because Dahlbeck had a remarkable August and September, that if he trades Dahlbeck and he becomes a 45 home run guy, he's going to stare at that. And I don't think he wants to do that. I think Dahlbeck's the first baseman.
But when Dahlbeck gets
terrible in the playoffs, I think he struck out every single time.
Yeah, when he got up in the playoffs against solid pitching, it's an automatic out. They just throw they get ahead in the countdown. They just start throwing them curveballs down in the dirt. He's dead. The guy can't hit. He can hit mediocre pitching. He cannot hit good pitching.
Right now, he cannot. But I think they give him
August and September. People don't care as much. The pitching isn't as good.
They're bringing kids up from the farm system, giving them a tryout. Exactly. He's great. You saw what he did when it got down to the good pitchers in the playoffs. He was useless.
All right, we're not gonna go around because I do want to talk to Celtics before we.
Wait, what about Schwarber? What about Schwarber?
Schwarber, I think
he's gonna get too much money for Heimblum.
I think Schwarber goes too. To be honest with you, I think Schwarber and Martinez are not on this team. I think that he's happy with the whole combination of Dahlbeck, Tristan Cases, and I think he's going to go a different way with relief pitching.
Schwarber's going to get big money, right?
Schwarber's going to get $20 million a year, I bet.
Yeah, they're not giving him.
Joe, would you say he's going to get $20 million?
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah. So we don't need either.
What's he? 29?
28 years old. Yeah.
28 years old. Oh yeah, you'll get at least 20 million.
Yeah.
2-year, 3-year deal.
He's a 30 home run hitter. 28 years old. Yeah.
Good locker room guy. He's seems like a good
Yeah.
guy to have on your team,
Yeah, he'll get more than 20 a year.
Would I
There's a
rather see
lot of-
him at first? I'd rather see him at first base than Dahlbeck. I'll tell you that right now.
There's a lot of teams who have plenty of dough. I think he's going to go to Seattle. A team like Seattle or Detroit is going to sign a guy like Schwarber or Martinez.
And they'll be lucky to have him.
We got to again. We'll stop at first base and then we'll work around. Next show, got to go to the Celtics, and I predicted that they were going to be a train wreck this year. Just if you remember, I told you, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. Just tell me, first of all, let's start with the Jays. Can they work together, or does one of them have to go?
One of them has to go. No one, Jaylen Brown can't get the ball in the fourth quarter. He had 2 touches in the fourth quarter the other night against the Bulls.
Is this
This
because
team-
they don't have a real point guard?
Don't let him have the ball.
This team is
because
so
they don't have a
it's
real point
broken.
guard?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not. I'd ask you to me. Is it because they don't have a real point guard, and all of a sudden Tatum takes the
don't-
ball and never comes
I
back?
think it's just Tatum needs to learn how to pass the ball. I mean, he's the black hole. It just goes into him and it's over. I mean, watching the 80 Celtics, the highlights were the passing. Watching the great Lakers team,
Yeah.
it was the passing. Like anyone can hit a 3-point or whatever. It was those great passes, those players that make their teammates better. The Magic Johnsons. I mean, Jordan did it in different ways. Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made his teammates better. Jason Tatum makes nobody better on that team.
Yeah, and then they're able to figure him out with 6 minutes left. They double and triple team him. He has this trait of falling, but then he falls. They don't just strip the ball away from him. He always falls. I mean, it's just kind of pathetic.
Yeah, the night was terrible. He's sitting there crying to the refs while the Bulls go down on 5-on-4 and score easily.
There's something missing in his soul. There's an empty space in his soul that that I don't know what's going to fill that space. But
Well, we
and
were
he's a
watching
super talented guy too.
just when the people who are at the games, they say it to me, fans, they tell me too. Peyton Pritchard, who's supposed to be a point guard, brings the ball up. He's so scared of Tatum that he immediately gives the ball to Tatum whenever Tatum wants it, and then he goes hides. I think he's actually in the crowd. And Pritchard's supposed to be a point guard, and he feels like his role when he's on the court with Tatum. That sums it up for me.
Yeah, there's no creativity out there. It's hard to watch, really. It's painful to watch.
And how do you give Marcus Smart a 4-year extension when he played horrific last year? You gave him something that he did not deserve. Now all of a sudden,
once he got paid, he started sloughing off a little. That whole team is at fault. They had 0 defensive rebounds in the fourth quarter of the night. 0. How do you go a whole quarter without accidentally the ball bouncing to you?
We thought this coach was going to come in and change the chemistry or change something. It's gone the wrong way. It's gone the opposite way.
Yeah, he came in and he says, we're no longer going to complain to the refs. That's all Tatum does. This is about every play.
Yeah, he mentioned Grant Williams.
Same thing.
Grant Williams can't complain to the refs, but Tatum and Brown can do whatever they want.
That's the story of the NBA. It's the players are driving the bus. I mean, that's just the way it is.
But the irony of all ironies, Timmy and Joe, is that Al Horford has been fantastic. I mean,
he's a pillar of strength out there. I gotta admit, he has been a constant.
But he's probably saying, "My God, why did I have to come back here and back into this crap show? Like I thought it was bad when I left. It's worse now."
Simmons and Embiid, he thought it was bad. Now he's got this.
But that ended up being a great trade. Kemba Walker he's about as washed up as any athlete has ever been.
He can't play.
He can't play anymore. Horford, if the team was playing normally, we'd be talking about Al Horford as the MVP of the Celtics.
I feel bad for Al Horford right now that he has to walk and sit in that locker room with God knows the vibes that Jason Tatum's giving off in that locker room. I would imagine having to sit next to that guy every game now and watch him and his act. Scotty, the game we went to last year, it summed it up right off the bat. He just came over, sat by himself, moped around, and then when he wants to turn it on, he goes out. He's fantastic. So that's the hard part to watch, is what this guy's capable of. He's as good as anyone in the league when he wants to do it, but when he wants to do it is the big question.
Hopefully they'll start to watch Horford rather than Tatum. Horford's passing the ball, he's boxing out and getting rebounds. He's hitting the open shot when he gets it. When he doesn't have it, he keeps the ball moving, sets a pick and lets someone else get open.
Don't you think Tatum would be embarrassed? I mean, he's been elevated to this echelon, this high, position league-wide on what he is. And don't you think he must be a little embarrassed about his performance, or do you think he just doesn't care?
Who's embarrassing him? I mean, the guy.
No, is he embarrassed himself? Is he embarrassed?
No. He's doing great. He's got 30 points a game. He's doing great, he thinks.
He just says, look, we saw this in the 70s. A lot of these in the 1970s, you had a lot of guys like Tatum who'd get their 30 points a game, get the big contract. They could care less what happened with the team.
So how do we think that whole Marcus Smart diatribe is going to go over? I mean,
not well after 7.
Marcus got to listen to himself, for God's sakes. He's one of the worst players.
Marcus Smart was probably the main contributor to Brad Stevens being sent upstairs, because Marcus Smart won the tug of war from Brad Stevens. Would you agree? His voice became louder.
Is he is Marcus Smart now who was that coach at Indiana? He used to throw tables across the room, and Bobby Knight. Is he just the Bobby Knight now of the Celtics? Like, how many times can you hear this guy yell and scream, "Let's go, guys! Let's go, guys"? I mean, is he like a coach that's worn out, that has lost the room? Is Marcus Smart lost the room?
Marcus has got to play the full game. He turns it on at certain points, like at the end of the game, he'll make a great defensive play, but he doesn't do anything the rest of the game. You got to do it all game long, Marcus.
There was no bigger Marcus Smart fan out there than me, but I think it's time for Marcus to go.
Yeah, but they continue. His value continues to diminish. I don't think anybody
could have sold so high 2 years ago on him.
Oh my God!
And everyone's opinion was like yours, Tim. Everyone's opinion was very high.
Could he really be the root of all of these problems? I don't
know.
No,
he's not the root of them, but he is.
They've tuned him out as well as they tuned out Brad.
He's a problem. The team's a major problem. Good luck to them. I don't know how they can figure it out, but I know one.
I'll tell you what. I have half the Celtics season tickets right now. I can't give them away.
Yeah, I said one thing to end the show. I told you they should tank. That's what they need to do right now. They need to try to get a top 3 pick and bring some nice young talent into this.
Hey, while we're on the subject of the TD Garden in the games there, I went into the Bruins game the other night, right? 45 minutes standing in the stairs amongst thousands of people jammed into the stairwells. They weren't even letting people into the main entrance, okay? 45 minutes standing on the stairs. It was almost a riot in the stairway. Do you know why? It's not because of checking COVID cards. They can't hire enough employees to scan the tickets to go in. There were 2 ticket booths open for one half of the stadium. There was almost a riot in the stairwell.
We were talking about that the other night. It's so easy to get a job there because it's just very sketchy work,
Yeah.
All
right, boys.
You don't get enough hours in a week to make any money.
Adrian wants us to go, and when Adrian speaks, I listen. All right, that's our show for tonight.
Have a safe trip.
Behind the scenes, I want to thank the fellas. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of the Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.